You're live. You're live.
Everyone, welcome to the special ed meeting tonight. I have with me Ashley Gullius from the board, also Mary Ellen Flaherty Ludwig. Joining us tonight are Deidre McKinnon and Veronica Lenzen, and they will be leading the meeting for us this evening. It is 5:04, and I'm going to turn the meeting straight over to you guys, okay?
Great, thank you so much. So we do have an agenda for the evening where we will be presenting dyslexia as our topic. We'll be including updates to dyslexia legislation, with Dr. Jeanette Moore. And then she will also be talking to us a little bit about the Orton Gillingham classroom certification course that we've been providing recently for our staff. Before we get started with that, we did want to just remind everyone that the beliefs behind specialized learning include that all students can and will learn. All students are general education students first. Special education is a service, not a place, and all are included. Our general education curriculum is our special ed curriculum, and every child has the right to their least restrictive environment. Of note, we have started some new education curriculum this year within ELA, and we're very proud of the fact that all of our special ed teachers are receiving the training in that curriculum alongside their general education teacher peers. So we're very happy that that's happening because I think it's going to really help with the rollout and the launch of that curriculum. And of course, the vision of specialized learning is to build a more equitable and just world where each and every Norwalk student is prepared for all aspects of life. So that being said, I am very excited to hand this over to Jeanette, who is going to go through our dyslexia conversation.
We have to share a screen, Veronica. My docs is not. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Perfect.
I got you. Is this visible or should I make it larger?
Can you make it slideshow?
Yeah, if you just go to the slideshow option, it'll be bigger.
All right, are we good?
Good.
Awesome. Hello, so glad to join you tonight. I'm Jeanette. I work as a district-wide literacy specialist for Norwalk Public Schools, and I often work very closely with Veronica Lenzen and Deirdre McKinnon in some of our efforts to roll out professional development for all teachers, but most particularly those who are serving our special education students with IEPs. So tonight we'll cover a little bit about what dyslexia is. I'll give some updates for the recent dyslexia legislation, the movement that happened the past few years, and some of the recent initiatives that we have spearheaded at Norwalk Public Schools in conjunction with Southport CoLab. I think Veronica covered a lot of this, that all students will learn, all students are included. And our vision is to build a more equitable and just world where each and every Norwalk student is prepared for all aspects of life. So there is a short video, hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So I'm gonna test it out first. It's a quick TED Talk. We went through several different short videos from many experts in the field. Because we're constantly looking to the experts in the research to make sure our professional development is in line with data-driven research structures. And this is one that we felt was the most robust, even though it's very short. Are you able to hear this?
I think if you make it big on the, press that, yeah.
I'm not able to hear it.
Take a moment to read.
Okay.
Oh.
And I'm not able to make it full screen. So let me try one more time.
The following.
Yeah, I don't think I have the ability to make it full screen. I'm going to try one more audio test. See if you can hear this music.
Take a moment to read the following.
Were you able to hear it? Okay.
I can hear it.
I'm sorry it's not full screen.
How was that? Frustrating? Slow? What were those sentences about? They're actually a simulation of the experience of dyslexia, designed to make you decode each word. Those with dyslexia experience that laborious pace every time they read. When most people think of dyslexia, they think of seeing letters and words backwards, like seeing B as D and vice versa. Or they might think people with dyslexia see saw as was. The truth is, people with dyslexia see things the same way as everyone else. Dyslexia is caused by a phonological processing problem, meaning people affected by it have trouble not with seeing language, but with manipulating it. For example, if you heard the word cat and then someone asked you, remove the C, what word would you have left? At. This can be difficult for those with dyslexia. Given a word in isolation like fantastic, students with dyslexia need to break the word into parts to read it. Fan-tas-tic. Time spent decoding makes it hard to keep up with peers and gain sufficient comprehension. Spelling words phonetically like S-T-I-K for stick and F-R-E-N-S for friends is also common. These difficulties are more widespread and varied than commonly imagined. Dyslexia affects up to 1 in 5 people. It occurs on a continuum. One person might have mild dyslexia, while the next person has a profound case of it. Dyslexia also runs in families. It's common to see one family member who has trouble spelling, while another family member has severe difficulty decoding even one-syllable words like catch. The continuum and distribution of dyslexia suggest a broader principle to bear in mind as we look at how the brains of those with dyslexia process language. Neurodiversity is the idea that because all our brains show differences in structure and function, we shouldn't be so quick to label every deviation from the norm as a pathological disorder, or dismiss people living with these variations as defective. People with neurobiological variations like dyslexia, including such creative and inventive individuals as Picasso, Muhammad Ali, Whoopi Goldberg, Steven Spielberg, and Cher, clearly have every capacity to be brilliant and successful in life. So here's the special way the brains of those with dyslexia work. The brain is divided into 2 hemispheres. The left hemisphere is generally in charge of language and ultimately reading, while the right typically handles spatial activities. fMRI studies have found that the brains of those with dyslexia rely more on the right hemisphere and frontal lobe than the brains of those without it. This means when they read a word, it takes a longer trip through their brain and can get delayed in the frontal lobe. Because of this neurobiological glitch, they read with more difficulty. But those with dyslexia can physically change their brain and improve their reading. With an intensive multisensory intervention that breaks the language down and teaches the reader to decode based on syllable types and spelling rules, the brains of those with dyslexia begin using the left hemisphere more efficiently while reading, and their reading improves. The intervention works because it locates dyslexia appropriately as a functional variation in the brain, which naturally shows all sorts of variations from one person to another. Neurodiversity emphasizes this spectrum of brain function in all humans and suggests that to better understand the perspectives of those around us, we should try to not only see the world through their eyes, but understand it through their brains.
So Kelly Hurley actually runs some research centers in San Francisco, and this is one of the TED Talks that her research and development was aimed towards. So dyslexia, according to Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity, dyslexia affects 20% of the population and represents 80 to 90% of those affected with learning disabilities. But Yale endorses what was mentioned in this video, is that it's, you know, the most cognitive of the most common of neurocognitive disorders. So there is a continuum, and we may have some students who present as dyslexic but aren't necessarily fully dyslexic. We have some that have genetic bearing. As much as 60% of students with dyslexia can relate it to someone in their family. So it's definitely a continuum. and each student is different. Some recent legislations, probably the past 10 years or so, there's been a lot of attention on dyslexia. And this is one of the largest public acts that actually Norwalk Public Schools at that point, 2018, 2019, really made sure that we were looking into comprehensive ways to serve our students who have reading difficulties. And the Public Act 17.3 started that in July 1st, 2018, educators who were applying for their initial provisional and professional certificate for comprehensive special education endorsement, so I think that's their 102, whatever it may be now, have to complete a study regarding diagnosis or remediation of reading and language arts that could include supervised practicum hours. So the first aspect of that public act was recently updated in May 2025, where the colleges that are serving the teachers that come to us to apply to Norwalk Public Schools, the colleges are charged with really making sure that the coursework is robust and that the teacher candidates that come to apply for jobs across Connecticut really need to have a good, solid background in not only special education, but reading disabilities and reading difficulties, including dyslexia. So the recent movement in May really magnifies what we jump-started way, 7, 8, 9 years ago with looking at Public Act 17.3. And the goal is just to make sure that our special education teachers are prepared to serve students with dyslexia, so their preparation is grounded in SOAR, science of reading, and structured literacy, which many of our materials that our special education teachers utilize in accordance with IEP goals and objectives are often trained in, exposed to, and mentored in. Are there any questions so far in regard to the legislation that was recently updated and how we implement some of this through special education?
We finding, I think it said the statistics were 1 in 5. Do we find that that is this, like what we see throughout our system?
It's a matter of identification, and as they mentioned in the research video from the TED Ed, it's a continuum. So we have many students who may or may not have reading challenges until they get older. So they reach a certain part of the curriculum and suddenly they not necessarily fall apart, but they suddenly have challenges that they didn't experience in elementary school. They were able to reach this threshold or mask that they understood what was going on until the words got larger or the concepts got deeper. So for our population and our percentages, that would be a matter of looking into statistics through CT SEDS and things. But because we do have students who are identified SLD/D or SLDD within CT SEDS, we just make sure that we're in line with the dyslexia legislation. But like it's a continuum. There are some students who may have dyslexia who just, like many of the famous people that you saw that were in the video, Winston Churchill, for example, his grandson made the C pen, Jack Churchill. And the C pen is one of our assistive technology devices that we offer some students so that they can read more fluidly as they get older, as they have really complicated types of dyslexia. Whereas the other side of the continuum, like I started with, they may just fly under the radar and do just fine and not necessarily need our special education services.
I'm wondering if with the update or charging the colleges with making sure that the special ed students have knowledge of this, is it any what broader that just general ed teachers would have some knowledge in this also?
Yeah, I'm actually going Friday to the Office of Research and Development in Dyslexia. It's run by President of the Reading League, Mrs. Gianni, and she was the former president of International Dyslexia Association Connecticut chapter.
Is this in Connecticut? In Connecticut? In Hartford, okay.
And there are a large amount of competencies that now the future staff that Norwalk Public School will have must have met these specific competencies in reading challenges, reading difficulties, and dyslexia. So it's forcing our state colleges to become much more robust so that their programming is much more robust. So when candidates apply for special education jobs here in Norwalk Public Schools and other towns and cities in Connecticut, that we know that their programming shows that they had a lot of preparation.
I think, Mary Ellen, I think, were you asking if they have added some requirements for general education as well, though? Like,
Yes.
yeah. So I think that's wonderful that they've added all that for the special education candidates in the colleges. Have they built out the programming for the, like, all education programs, like elementary ed and everything too?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. For example, at Western Connecticut State, I've been working in the Department of Education, their education department, for 12 or 13 years. And all students who are general education teachers, future music teachers, secondary history teachers, everyone must take Introduction to Special Education. And within Introduction to Special Education, ED 405, we have dedicated time to dyslexia, and we bring the students to specific dyslexia modules that are offered by the state of Connecticut and on the CERC website, SERC. So as a part of the curriculum, it is required that even our music ed teachers, for example, must be exposed to the way in which a dyslexic student handles print, because even in music class, you may have to read sheets of music, notes, lyrics. So all teachers are exposed to this outcropping of the dyslexia legislation, but it's even more broad and robust from the recent May 2025 changes. I actually have a copy of the competencies too, which aren't a part of this PowerPoint, but I'm happy to provide you with to show how there's going to be an overhaul, sort of behind the scenes for all the people who are becoming certified in special education and other facets of education in the state of Connecticut. It's like pages and pages, but I'll just condense it. So recently, we were charged with creating the Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities, and that concerns specifically the delivery of special education services in Connecticut. So the Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities has to report to an education committee on developments and best practices across the state. How are we evaluating dyslexia? How are we providing interventions? And what are the student outcomes based on teacher prep capacity? So this is part of a very large bill, but on page 31, it mentioned that the development of this office, they are charged with creating a very large report on all the developments and the evidence-based best practices for dyslexia evaluations, interventions, and student outcomes. There's a big focus on K-3, but this expands beyond. This is all for structured literacy, which, specifically for Norwalk Public Schools, we see it through all the way, even to our students who are in special education services 18 to 22. So in this lens is a large Connecticut Hartford lens that's being developed as we speak. The Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities has to submit to the Education Committee by February 1st, 2026 to the commissioner to be sure that all cities and towns are in line with understanding how to deliver special education services specifically for students with dyslexia. But on the Norwalk level, we've taken it serious enough where we are looking at dyslexia screeners. We are tracking students with progress monitoring. We also have very specific evaluation processes. So we can't just say, I think a student is dyslexic. We have lots and lots of data prior to going to the evaluation process. And then we figure out very pointed interventions, because as mentioned in the research-based video, every student's like a snowflake. There is really no one programmatic overarching thing that we can give all of our students who may have reading difficulties and or dyslexia. We really have to analyze their data specifically to make sure that their student outcomes are maximized. So recently, in collaboration with Mr. Pennington, Ms. Lenzen, as well as Ms. McKinnon, we all came together and decided we do have a neighboring wonderful source of information, Southport CoLab, and they provide education training and professional development in the vein of Orton Gillingham. So Orton Gillingham is almost 100 years old. It's the general name for the approach to structured literacy. All of these, boxed kits from EPS and, all of these different companies that sell Orton Gillingham materials all operate under this large umbrella of the Orton Gillingham approach. And we had a recent initiative that just finished last week where many of the special educators, I think 20 in total, were participating in a coursework with 2 Orton Gillingham fellows. So in the Academy of Orton Gillingham, the highest you can be is a fellow, and often when you become a fellow, you travel around the world and you give this structured literacy knowledge to practitioners. And we always have Orton Gillingham initiatives in Norwalk Public Schools constantly. Every year we have regular support. As district-wide literacy specialist, I meet with an Orton Gillingham fellow every single month for the 6 years that I've been here. We've also had Orton Gillingham fellows work with us. I'm an Orton Gillingham associate with certified level coursework. We also have many Wilson 1 trained staff, and we have members of the IDA, members of the Reading League. So Norwalk has a very robust amount of resources, and these 20 teachers got to complete a 40-hour Orton Gillingham classroom educator coursework component that was taught with 2 Orton Gillingham fellows through Southport CoLab. We also partnered with Green River Literacy of Massachusetts. There is a practicum component to all Orton Gillingham certifications, and that's also something that we're looking into as well, so that we can further enrich staff so they know even more about classroom certification level. Why would we pick this classroom certification level? There's also associate level, which requires 2 or more years of dedication to coursework and multiple observations. There's a certified level where I am, which also involves another 4 years of coursework, observations, paperwork, and then there's the fellow level. Because many of our teachers are pushing into classes, sort of what Ms. Lenzen started with, in the spirit of all students are general education students first. We are making sure that when special educators go into the classroom, they have robust knowledge because they are supporting the students, not just in pull-out services, but specifically push-in. And they are also cooperating with general education teachers, co-planning and co-teaching. So we thought getting this classroom educator coursework underway would be very important so that special education teachers would know how to manipulate some of the Orton Gillingham approach alongside their general education colleagues. Are there any questions in regard to our recent collaboration with the CoLab?
I was just curious, is the Southport CoLab connected to the Southport School?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and Southport School actually, their teachers are exactly this. They're classroom certified.
Yep.
And some go on to become associates. Some go on to get to the certified level. Teresa Collins is a fellow from the Academy of Art in Gillingham who's there, who helped design a lot of this material. So it's definitely an awesome opportunity for our teachers to take part in. It's an expensive opportunity, but we know that it's worthwhile, and we're always willing to make this investment in our students because it's important that our teachers have this type of resource available to them.
I'm wondering how many students in the last couple of years have been beneficiaries of this Uh, I recall a couple of years ago, there was a beginning of school where all the teachers of all subjects had some instruction on dyslexia. But I had heard of this ordinance before, and I'm wondering, have we tracked how many kids we've helped with this particular strategy?
So 3 or 4 years ago, there was an initiative where Dr. Estrella spearheaded a connection with CERC, Claire Conroy, through the state of Connecticut. And we had a large presentation for every single staff, K to 12, including also our educators in the 18 to 22 program, and some that were even in NECC at the preschool at the time. But that was a large initiative where all of the teachers were able to be a part of a morning and an afternoon session with the state of Connecticut through a partnership that Dr. Estrella forged. So this is something that echoes every year. We just make sure that we vary the connection to Orton Gillingham, keep it spicy. And so that way we're not, boring our educators, but also making sure that they're manipulating all the different modalities, resources, and research that we can get our hands on.
Jeanette, I would add too, you mentioned earlier that sometimes the students don't show the struggles until high school. And both of our comprehensive high schools have at least one, if not up to 3 sections of specialized reading. And those teachers are trained with Orton Gillingham. So you're probably looking at somewhere in the vicinity of 65 or so students across the 2 comprehensive high schools that are getting benefit from this each year that they have specialized reading on their IEP. So just at the high school level alone, we are seeing quite a number of students who are getting benefit from this intervention and this teaching. So if that helps a little bit in your question, I can at least give you some rough numbers at the high school level.
That's very impressive, and I'm imagining it's many more because of the focus on K through 3 would be more students there. But it's just so encouraging to use the best techniques to help our students tackle this major task of learning how to read comfortably.
Yeah, so we have there's an increase of requests for Orton Gillingham. Our teachers are asking this of us, which is really impressive on their part, because teachers come from all different collegiate backgrounds. We may have teachers who are driving in from New York State or New Jersey, or who have moved here from Massachusetts or other states, and then they end up serving in Norwalk Public School students. So their backgrounds are varied, and many of the teachers are actually asking for more and more training, and even some requests for practicum and observations and collaborations. So some of our students are benefiting also just because their teachers are so involved in the approach and wanting to, and that also they initiate more study and more research in their own right. And luckily with our partnership with the state, as always, but especially recently, 5-6 years, we make sure that we take part in a lot of some of their free or very affordable training, their introductory to Orton Gillingham approach coursework, 5-day coursework, their Wilson 1 3-day coursework. We have a long-standing contract with Linda Mood Bell. We have many teachers who are trained in visualizing and verbalizing, seeing stars, on cloud 9. All of these that are somewhere connected to Orton Gillingham, or they are related to the approach. It's definitely been part of the fabric of the specialized learning department. Every year we make sure we renew and stay connected to a lot of these awesome resources. So in that same vein, the state opportunities in March and April 2026, on the heels of when the commissioner is going to be reviewing from the Office of Dyslexia, all of that data collected around the state. Part of the state's systemic improvement plan, so the SSIP, the SIP goal, is to raise reading achievement for all 3rd grade students in particular. So you saw that the state is charged with looking over all, towns and cities, Norwalk included. And this is measured by English language arts assessments. So in order to support that effort, the Connecticut State Department of Education has offered Norwalk Public Schools free virtual structured literacy training series. And they will give us all the materials and everything. So in March, we have 8 more special educators who will be getting a Wilson introductory course. And then in April, and I believe like the first day of May, we have 8 more special educators on top of that 8 who will get the Orton Gillingham introductory workshop. So not only did we just work with 20 with Southport CoLab, but we have another round of 16 coming up in the next 5 or 6 months that will work directly with the Connecticut State Department of Ed. Are there any questions in regard to other state opportunities we're a part of?
So these sound like the current opportunities coming up. Just to get a little background, how many instructors do we have right now that are already certified in either of these? So we're adding on 20, what are we, 28, 36? What are we going to be, adding it on to?
We have some teachers who stay year to year, and then some who do not stay with us. So I'm not sure if I can go outside of this year.
We can,
but at least.
yeah, we can definitely get that number too. We have a whole spreadsheet of all the trainings that we've ever done, and how many teachers are trained. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It sounds good to me. It's just the trend is so wonderful that whatever we have as a base, we're increasing it as we stand now and as we move forward. So I commend that.
Yeah, thank you. I just meant to keep it in this year because we have lovely teachers who stay with us and lovely teachers who go on to other districts. But statewide, this is a big initiative. Many of our neighboring towns are working in the similar vein. So Norwalk Public Schools is making sure that we are also doing what our neighboring towns are doing as well. We have even more initiatives that are happening that are also connected with our multilingual learners. And we have very talented reading interventionists who also have Orton Gillingham approach in their backgrounds too. So even beyond our specialized learning department, we have many, many teachers who are also interventionists and multilingual learner teachers who have this robust knowledge and access as well. But the focus of tonight is mainly our special education teachers and specialized learning. Mm-hmm. There's a lot. There's even more beyond what Deirdre is going to give you in terms of numbers. There are interventionists also, reading interventionists, reading teachers, literacy interventionists, coaches who have a wide variety of many of these initiatives already in their back pockets. And special educators, obviously the topic of tonight, but there are many more staff beyond us. Okay.
Oh, this is us also. So as you know, last year we started our parent advisory group for special education. And we have our first meeting for this year on Wednesday, November 5th at 2025. That's excellent. I might need some of this reading stuff. Wednesday, November 5th at the Family Center at 6:30. Sorry, that was terrible. We do not have the topic as of yet. We are having our parent volunteers who are leading the group work on determining that, and we are supporting them along the way. So if they're not sure, we do have a couple of things in our back pocket if we need it. But we are very excited to finally kick off the year, again, Wednesday, November 5th at 6:30 at the Family Center. We are also doing a virtual option. So if any of you want to join while you're also very busy with other things, which I completely respect, there will be an opportunity if you want to take a look at what's going on, you can do it virtually.
Thank you so much for everything. Did anyone have any other questions?
No, that was great. Can you maybe send us a calendar invite or an email that has that meeting on it?
Yeah.
Just so that it'll stay on my radar. I would like to listen in. It'll stay on my radar better if it's in my
Absolutely.
inbox. I wrote it down, but
Yep. Well, and with the way I presented it to you, there's no judgment about that. Yeah, no, that's fine. We
all
can
good.
take care of that. In the morning, I'll get everybody's names on.
Yeah, no rush. But I'm glad that that group's getting up and running, and I'm so glad that we're taking into the dyslexia work because it impacts such a large number of our students and probably a lot that we don't even realize yet as they
Yeah,
for
we have
sure.
they figure it out.
we have quite a few we have a large multilingual learner population also, who are learning oracy and communication and maybe having reading difficulties as well, learning the English language. And we've got students who are in our tiered intervention. They're receiving, tier 2 interventions, and they're going to, various building initiatives. So in special education, we've definitely, we are always offering them trainings, which, is, it's good. But it also requires them sometimes to have coursework and materials, and but many of the staff really enjoy getting the new knowledge and applying it in the classroom. So it's definitely worthwhile. I tell them all, like, put it on your resume, keep things up to date. These are all, a lot of times they'll get certificates and they'll get exposure to people who talk to them who might be good point people. For when they want to do some of their own research, or going back to school and things of that nature. So it's all good stuff. I like talk about reading all day, so just tell me to shut up when
I'm just
literally
so
all day.
impressed. It's so important. So impressed. Thanks
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jeanette. It's nice to meet you. Thank Deirdre.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Veronica.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Do I
Deirdre.
have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mary Ellen, second.
Seconded.
Ashley, okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you
Thank
all in
you
the next
all.
meeting.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for all your work.